Amidst wars and rumors of bigger conflicts in the Middle East region, there is some good news. An unprecedented number of Muslims are choosing to follow Christ. In Iran, 50,000 out of 75,000 mosques have closed, as 80% of Iranians express their dissatisfaction with the government and their desire to see democracy replace it. Todd, Nettleton, Vice President of Messaging at the Voice of the Martyrs and VOM radio host, joins us now. Todd, it seems many Iranians are seeking to overcome their displeasure with the regime by embracing Christ. So tell us what you and VOM have learned about what is happening now inside Iran.
Well, one of the things that's happened since 1979 is the government of Iran has been the mullahs. It's been the Islamic leaders, and they have made this claim that, hey, we are running our country according to Islamic principles. We're going to follow the Quran down to a T. We're going to run everything in the country just the way Islam tells us to. Well, we're now 45 years into that little experiment, and you have a country with one of the highest drug addiction rates in the world. You have a country where corruption runs rampant. You have a country where more than half the people live below the poverty line. And the people of Iran are looking at this and they're saying, wait a minute, if this is what Islam has brought us in the last 45 years, we're not interested. We want to know what the other options are. That's why so many Iranians, the first step typically is to reject Islam and to reject religion. And many of them have become atheists. But then the second step is, well, wait a minute, what if there is a God? And that is how Jesus is revealing himself. Christian radio broadcast, Christian television broadcast, Christian internet ministries are feeding into that hunger in Iran, and we're seeing this massive wave of people come to Christ.
How's the regime reacting to this? We've heard 50,000 of 75,000 mosques have closed, and I'm sure they aren't accepting that very well.
No, this is not something that is making the regime happy. And really, in many ways, they are seeking to solidify their power and to crush any kind of dissent. And they certainly see the growth of the church. They certainly see Christian evangelism as a form of dissent. That's undermining the Islamic regime. And so you have Christians being arrested, particularly leaders. We have heard multiple stories this year of a Bible study, a home church being raided. Everyone there is photographed, everyone there is questioned, but then the leader of the meeting is held onto. They are arrested, they are detained, they're put in prison. And so there really is a concerted effort to go after the leaders and the people who are spreading Christianity and inviting other Muslims to come and follow Christ.
And how about relatives, friends, that kind of thing of Muslims who do convert to Christ? Those people are considered apostates, right? Those who do convert. So what happens to them aside from the government?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've asked that question to Iranian Christian leaders, and one of the factors there, and in most Muslim countries, the first line of persecution is your family. They're the first people who are going to come to you and say, wait a minute, we're a Muslim family. You can't be part of our family if you're not a Muslim anymore. That is less likely to happen in Iran because so many Iranians have rejected Islam, or at least they're open to the idea of rejecting Islam. And so oftentimes, rather than your family coming and persecuting you, they come to you and say, well, hey, if that works for you, okay, you know, we're okay with it. We won't bother you. Because again, so many Iranians don't think Islam works. They see what their government has done over the last 45 years. And so they're kind of have the attitude of, hey, if you found something that works for you, if it's Jesus or if it's atheism or if it's whatever, if it works for you, I know Islam doesn't work. So I'm happy you found something that works. So it is different as far as family persecution in Iran from what you might see in Saudi Arabia or what you might see in another predominantly Muslim country.
Well, where else are we seeing explosive Christian growth in the Middle East? Which country excites you the most right now beyond Iran?
You know, as we look across the Middle East, I think of things in Saudi Arabia. The government, certainly in Saudi Arabia, is changing in terms of how it responds to outside influence. There is an effort to sort of modernize the business world. There is an effort to be more friendly to the rest of the world, more open to the rest of the world. And it seems like there is a little more openness to the idea of Christianity. coming into Saudi Arabia, not necessarily welcoming it with open arms, obviously, but just the understanding that it could happen, that there could be Christians here, and maybe that's not the worst thing in the world.
So, what can Christians worldwide do to help these new believers in Iran and elsewhere, Todd?
I think the first thing that we need to do, that all of us can do, is to pray for them. And I think that's the first thing they would ask us to do as well. There are also ministries like the Voice of the Martyrs that are supporting the church in Iran, that are helping to equip. One of the things you can pray for, and one of the things that Voice of the Martyrs is involved in, is training up leaders. As the church is growing so quickly, one of the first things they need is more leaders. And so helping to identify, helping to train, helping to equip those leaders is a key part of the ministry to support the growth of the church in Iran.
Okay, and we'll keep praying for them as well. Todd Nettleton, the Voice of the Martyrs. Thank you, Todd, for sharing your insights. We appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.